The last group of problems on your homework are all about division. Remember, we learned two ways to divide, and we have synthetic division and long division. I'll first go over synthetic division. That's going to be the easiest one to use. But some of you guys I know are more comfortable with long division, so I'll go over both of those methods. If you prefer long division, feel free to skip ahead and go to the long division part of the video. That's perfectly fine with me. So synthetic division, here we go. So remember, with synthetic division, what you're checking is what you're dividing by, is that term linear? And as it turns out in all your homework problems, I'll give you a hint, they're all linear. So we have n minus 4. So we're going to want to start off by setting that equal to 0. And then we'll solve it for n. So n minus 4 equals 0. We're going to add 4 to both sides. So this is n is 4. Next, set up your L. And then put this number on the outside. So we'll put 4 out there. Okay. So after that, we will take just the coefficients of this first set of parentheses here. So notice I have n cubed minus 7n squared plus 20n minus 35. Couple things to note before we go writing down the coefficients. You just want to check and make sure that all your n's are accounted for, starting with the highest power of n and going to the lowest. So in other words, I'm checking, my highest power on n here is 3. So I need to check, do I have n squared, n, and something with no n's? So notice I have n cubed, n squared, n, and then no n's at all. So I am in good shape. I do not need to use those 0 placeholders that we got in class a couple times. So my coefficient in front of n cubed, it's not written there, but I'm going to write it. It's a 1. So remember, if there's not a number there, it's a 1. So the coefficient there is 1. Then my next term has a coefficient of negative 7. Then plus 20. And then negative 35. Okay. And then your synthetic division algorithm says you're just going to drop that first term down, multiply diagonally, so 4 times 1, which is 4. Add vertically, so negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. That process repeats until you get to the very last sum. So 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Add vertically, so 20 minus 12 is 8. And then that process goes one more time. So 4 times 8 is 32. Add vertically, negative 35 plus 32 is negative 3. Now, you don't have to do this, but I like to put my last sum in a little box because that just tells me this is my remainder. That very last sum is always the remainder. So the last thing we need to do is we're going to use the numbers in front of our remainder as our coefficients. So this 1 is going to become a coefficient. So I'm going to write it as 1. And then we're going to include our n's. So this will be 1n. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to lower it, the power on n, by exactly 1. So notice I started with something that had n to the power of 3. If I lower that by exactly 1, so that power on n, if I lower it by exactly 1, I would have n to the power of 2. And then from there, we'll decrease our powers on n by 1 each time. So this negative 3 would be a coefficient. If I lower the power on n here by 1, I would have n to the first. And then we'll bring down 8 as a coefficient, and that 8 is positive. And our power on n, if we lower it by 1, and I'll write it so we can see it, is 0. And then our remainder is -3. And remember, to show the remainder, we must write it like this. So minus, because it's negative, 3 divided by, sorry, this is a bad looking 3. So -3 divided by n minus 4. Okay. And we can clean this up a little bit. It's not necessary to show the 1 here, so I'm just going to write this as n squared minus 3n. I'm not going to show the 1. And then remember, n to the 0, any number to the 0 is 1. So this would say 8 times 1, which is just 8. So I'm going to write plus 8 minus my remainder. So minus 3 over n minus 4. And that's how you would do this one using synthetic division. So now let me show you how to do the same problem, number 13, using long division. So so I got n cubed minus 7n squared plus 20n minus 35 divided by n minus 4. So remember, the n minus 4 comes out in front, and what you're dividing by comes out front, and then everything else comes inside. So that will be n cubed minus 7n squared plus 20n minus 35. And then from here, you're comparing this n out front to this first term here. So you're always comparing this to the first term you see. So notice I see n and n cubed. And so what do I got to multiply by n by to get n to the power of 3? So the easiest way to do this is, let's divide n cubed by the n out front. So n cubed divided by n. Remember, when you're dividing and you have the same base, that means you should subtract the exponents. So remember, this would have like an exponent of 1 on it. So n to the 3 minus 1, that's n squared. What this means is, so I can put this result right on top. So I'll put it up here. So n squared. What this means is, if I multiply n squared times n, I'm going to get my n cubed. And we'll see why that's important in just a second. And then I'll multiply n squared by -4. So this is -4n squared. And just like in division with, if you had just numbers, we're going to subtract. So notice now when I subtract, n cubed cancel out, and that's what we wanted. So that was the whole point of doing this little division off to the side here, is it helped me determine what I needed to multiply n by to get n to the power of 3. And then last, -7n squared minus -4n squared. Remember, here's a double negative, so it's like a plus. So -7 plus 4n squared, that's -3n squared. And then bring down the plus 20n. And I'm just going to erase this because this is a subtraction sign. So this process is going to repeat itself until we get no more n's left here. Okay. So we're going to repeat this process. So here I have -3n squared. So I'm actually going to include the number that's with the n to the power of 2. So I'm going to say -3n squared, and I'm going to divide it by this n out front. So just like before, this time I have a number out front. Notice this is -3. There's not a number down here. I mean, you could think of it as like a 1. And anything divided by 1 is itself. So this would be like -3. And then remember, when you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. So this is n to the power of 1. So 2 minus 1 is just n to the power of 1. So that means that in order to get -3n squared, I would need to multiply n by -3n. So I'm going to put -3n up at the top. So negative 3n times n gets me negative 3n squared. Negative 3n times negative 4, well, that's positive 12n. And we're subtracting this. So now notice negative 3n squared minus a negative. Remember, minus a negative becomes plus. So this is negative 3n squared plus 3n. These cancel out, which is exactly what we wanted. And then 20n minus 12n. So 20 minus 12 is 8. And this is n. So this is 8n. Then bring down the negative 35. Okay. Next. Use red. So same process. 8n. We're going to divide it by this n out front here. Notice we can cancel those out. So it's just this is just 8. So that says if I multiply 8 by n, I'm going to get 8n. So I'm going to put plus 8. So 8 times n is 8n. And 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. And I am subtracting. Next, my 8n minus 8n, those cancel out. That's good. That's what we were hoping for. And negative 35 minus 32. Remember, a double negative becomes positive. So this is like saying negative 35 plus 32. That's just negative 3. So this negative 3 is my remainder. So we like to show the remainder as minus, because it's negative, 3 over n minus 4. And then just to separate this, I'm going to do that. And the last thing, just to clean it up a little bit, we can rewrite this. I'm just going to rewrite this at the bottom here as n squared minus 3n plus 8 minus 3 over n minus 4. So either method that you choose is fine. You end up with, whoops, sorry about that. So I truly don't mind whichever method that you prefer. I want you to use the method that you're most comfortable with. For some of you, that's going to be using the synthetic division. For some of you, that will be doing the long division. Again, it's your choice.